Alrighty, so if you just finished the introduction, again, all I did was go over what a factor means and what you have to do in order to factor. Again, this in order to factor list that I made here, 1, 2, 3, again, this is just basic steps. So again, it's just kind of a roadmap for you to follow in case you look at a problem and you're like, I have no freaking clue what to do. Again, that's exactly where you'll want to go. Again, it will give you some guidance here. All right, but the most important thing, again, once you reach a problem, you're going to have to determine which method to use. So I'm going to go through 3 main methods that we're going to use in this class. And these are the only 3 you'll have to know, again, in practice, in Delta Math, and on the Go formative. Okay, so what I'm going to do, again, if you see the way I set it up, on the left side, I have a question that you'll practice with me. So again, if you want to pause and write things down at any time, that's a good idea. So you can work through the first problem with me, and then again take some time and try the second one on your own. Again, I will put up the solutions to the practice on your own questions. That way you can check to see you did those correctly. Okay, so again, method number 1 is called the GCF method. So again, you're pulling out the greatest common factor. And again, you will be able to recognize these methods as you go along, again, based on the type of problem I give you. Okay, so first of all, there's one characteristic here that I want you to recognize. There are only 2 terms. So again, I have a 15x squared and I have a 20x. Okay, I have one term here and another term here. Again, the GCF method can be used when there's 2, 3, or more terms. But again, if it's 2 terms, it's going to be very evident for you to start with the GCF method. Because again, like the second method we learn, you will not be able to do with 2 terms. You'll see that one you can only do when there's 3 terms in your problem. So again, I see 2 terms. I see some coefficients out in front. I see a 15 and a 20. So again, let's try the GCF method. Very first step you're going to do, you have to find the GCF, or the greatest common factor, between the numbers 15 and 20. And again, you will get better at this eventually where you probably won't even have to write the list down, but I'm going to do it for now, again, especially since it's the first example. So again, I'm going to list the factors like we did at the end of last week. So I start with 1 times 15 gets me to 15. Let me think of anything else that can multiply to 15. Well, I have a 3 times 5, so again, I'm just going to add 3 and 5 to my list. So that's my list of factors there. 1, 3, 5, 15. Again, I'm going to do the same for 20, so I start with 1 and 20. And again, I'm just going to keep going, so 2 times 10 gets me to 20, and 4 times 5 gets me to 20. And again, my job is to find their greatest common factor. So I see they have a 1 in common, they have a 5 in common. So again, the one that is the greatest is a 5. So the very first thing I do is write a 5 out in front. Okay, you start with your greatest common factor. I pulled out a 5. So technically what you're doing is you're taking out a 5 out of the number 15 and out of the number 20. Okay, so if I take 5 out of the number 15, again, it's like 15 and you're dividing out of 5. You're going to be left with a 3 on the inside. Okay, because if I went back and multiplied 5 times 3, you get back to 15. Okay, we're just going to leave the x squared for now. And we'll do the same thing. If I take a 5 out of the number 20, again, to get back to 20, I need to do 5 times 4, gets you back to 20. So I have a 4 here. So again, all I did was pull out a 5 out in front. And if I went back and multiplied again, 5 times 3 would get you back to 15. 5 times negative 4 would get you to negative 20. Exactly what we started with. Okay, one last step here. I have an x squared and I have an x. Again, their greatest common factor is an x, okay? I can pull an x out of both of them. I can pull an x out of x squared, and obviously I can pull an x out of the variable x. So your full greatest common factor is going to be 5x. So again, if I pull an x out of x squared, I'm just left with 1x. And if I pull an x out of x, Well, I'm just left with 1, so I got rid of all the x's here, so I'm just going to have a 4 left over. Okay, and that is going to be your final answer. We were able to factor this polynomial right here, 5x squared minus 20x, using the greatest common factor method. Again, we're pulling apart this polynomial into its factors. That's why we call it factoring. Okay, and one little trick that you can use, especially in a question like this, when you're done, you might be like, okay, I have no clue what I just did. Like, did I do the right thing? I don't know. To me, the answer just looks more complicated, honestly. Okay, but let's go back and check. So let's multiply throughout to see if we get back to what we started. So if I multiply 5x and 3x, I get 15x squared. Perfect, that's what I had in the beginning here. And if I multiply 5x by negative 4, you get negative 20x, exactly what we started with. So at the end, when you multiply, you should get what you started with. Okay, so pretty much factoring is dividing out. And at the end, again, you're going to end up with your factors. Everything split up as much as it can be split up. And then if you want to check again, you're going to just go back and multiply, and you should get back to what you started. Okay? I know this is your very first example seeing factoring. I went into a lot of detail about a lot of things in this first one here. So again, if you have to watch it again or go back to any point, that's a good idea. But what I want you to do now is pause the screen, and I want you to try 1B. Okay, I want you to pause the screen because I'm going to start writing the solution, and I want you to get a chance to try it on your own before I write down the answer. Okay, so I'm going to just stop talking for a few seconds here so you can pause your screen. And I'm going to quickly just fill in the solution so you can check to make sure you did it correctly. All right, so like I said, I'm just going to fill in this solution so you can check to make sure you did it correctly. Again, please make sure you tried it on your own first. So again, I'm just going to do like a quick explanation for the example you have to do on your own. Again, I just started with listing all the factors. I see that my greatest common factor is 10. Again, I have a 10 up here and a 10 down here. So I start with the 10 out in front. Again, I was able to pull an x out of both of them. And now I need to see what I have to multiply to get back to my original question. So 10 times what gets me to 30? Well, 10 times 3. And if I pulled an x out in front, again, I have another x left here. And again, what do I multiply by 10x to get me back to 10x? You just multiply by 1. Again, 10 times 10 will get you back to 1. So this should have been your final factored form there. And again, that one you were supposed to practice on your own. So if you maybe got something wrong, try it over again. And once you're comfortable, you can move on to the videos for method 2.